I'm personally a pretty big fan of public transit. I mean, what's not to love about trains, streetcars, and of course buses? Actually a lot, but the Bloxburg devs seem to share my opinion on transit, since they actually added it to the game during the last update. Well, kind of. It's actually just a glorified fast travel system, so you don't even see the buses that supposedly drive you around the map. In this video I want to fix that, by designing my own bus as well as a bus terminal for it to stop at. Before I started to actually work on the bus, I decided to sketch out what I wanted it to look like first, so that I had a concept to work off of. While drawing, I tried to make sure that it was actually possible for someone like me to later build it in Bloxburg, which pretty much just means that I tried to avoid using difficult angles and curves as much as possible, which is why the final sketch looks very rectangular. But buses are very rectangular in practice, so I guess in that sense it kind of worked out. For the design itself, I mainly took inspiration from European bus designs like these ones. I know Bloxburg is set in the US, but I didn't really like any of the American bus designs I found online. And this was my video, so my subjective opinion is objectively correct every time. Now this is what I ended up with. I'll be honest, I didn't practice drawing vehicles since that video where I remade outdated Bloxburg cars, and it kinda shows. It does however look like I could realistically remake it in Bloxburg with my, let's say, limited skill set when it comes to making custom vehicles. Now you may have already noticed that instead of creating my own custom wheels, I'm just using the wheels of this box truck. Just cause, first of all, I can't be bothered, and second of all, I don't think it would even be possible for me to make these, just because I don't have Transform Plus. But I mean, if it works, right? The only issue I see with this is that the box truck is like, how much is it? Yeah, $140,000. Which, I mean, yeah, that's pretty much the most expensive set of wheels I ever bought. But they do fit the theme really well. But anyways, let's just get started with the bus. This entire bus is made of basic shapes and structures, so I started off by building a frame to support those basic shapes. This is important so I can later on move and copy the entire bus in one piece. I then added in wheel arches by using actual arch structurals, and got started on the headlight design. Now the biggest issue doing it like this, is that we can't actually have an interior to the bus. Which, I mean, isn't really the worst problem you can have, to be honest. If anything, that just means there's less work to do. Which, I mean, you know by now that I'm perfectly fine with that. Now before we continue, I have to say I did a pretty good job with how this looks like from the front. It's actually rather close to the sketch I did. I did notice a small problem, however. Every time I move this, it just randomly deletes stuff on it. And then it just magically reappears again. It's very weird. And that's a problem because I have to, place it underneath the truck to... No, great, now everything disappeared. Well, honestly, all I can really hope is that it doesn't get much worse than this. Despite knowing it will be a problem in the future, I just ignored it for now and carried on, as it has always been proven to be a great strategy. Anyways, I'm working on the non-functional doors, as well as all the non-functional windows. Now we can just copy and paste the door to the rear, and I mean, in theory, we could also add in a third door. I do like how this looks. But yeah, that's probably, I don't think you need 3 doors for a city the size of Bloxburg. Coincidentally, leaving it at 2 doors happened to make the next step, building the rear of the bus, a lot easier. Unlike the front end, I didn't really plan out the rear end, so I had to randomly come up with a design, which is not really the best way to build custom vehicles like this. Who would have thought? Now the main body of the bus is pretty much finished, I believe. Now the rear end is not perfect. I mean, you can see I kind of tried to curve them. It didn't go that well, mainly because these wedges are genuinely so awful to work with. The rest of the bus I really like though. I think I did a pretty good job with it. I proceeded to finally color the bus and add on a roof. Since there are obviously no buses in game and the bus shelters don't have any meaningful color scheme, I had to come up with one by myself. I ended up making it this teal color inspired by Bloxburg's logo. It's not that realistic, honestly in real life it would probably be covered by ads anyway, but it's fun. Now that the bus is almost finished, I started running into a familiar problem though. Okay, so we have an actual problem now. Because the bus will not... Yeah, it just doesn't work. The whole bus just disappears if I try to move it. Now I'm not sure if this is like a bug. Because I don't remember this happening when I was building the train. What if I just copy the entire thing? Okay, that was unexpected, so we can just finish this and then just copy it on top of the truck. That's actually that's really helpful. And it's surprisingly affordable. I mean, 22,000 for the amount of structurals and basic shapes in here. That's pretty good, honestly. With that problem solved, it was time for the final stretch. I mostly added in minor details like radiator vents, windshield wipers, mirrors and lots of stickers. With the bus finished, it's now time to build the terminal. Since the terminal is a pretty boring build, I decided to just speed build this part of the video. Now, this terminal is actually based on a real-life bus terminal I found on Google Earth, specifically this terminal in Springfield, Massachusetts. I know this sounds very random, because it totally is. I was frustrated because I couldn't find any interesting bus terminals in a lot of the major cities. So I just ended up picking random cities to look at their terminals, and this one happened to be the first one I looked at. So shout out to Springfield, Massachusetts for being the only city I saw with a decent bus terminal. Now, I only based the general layout on that terminal, so the shelter design you can see me build right now I came up with myself. It's made entirely out of structurals, and to be honest it's more of a pergola instead of an actual shelter, as it probably won't do a very good job protecting you from the rain or snow or whatever. Still, I really like the design, especially the fact that the entire roof is kind of suspended with these cables. In total there are 6 spaces for the buses to stop at, and I marked them with these hanging signs, which are pretty similar to the ones I used in the train station build, though instead of structurals I used decals this time to number them. Even though I love the outcome, it was pretty finicky to do, especially the part where I had to hang the signs from the ceiling. I tried not to put as much detailing onto the platforms, as they are obviously intended to be pretty crowded. I still added tactile paving along all of the bus stops, which are meant to help blind or vision impaired people. They didn't have these in the original station I took inspiration from. Shame on you, Springfield, Massachusetts, by the way. But I see these all the time at the bus stops in my area, though I don't know how accurate or helpful my version really is. Anyways, I built a smaller version of the bus shelter at the entrance of the station, along with a few bike racks and a small parking spot for buses that are on break. One of the last things I made was this big station sign on the roof of the station. I used the letter decals from the Decals Discord server, which I'll link in the description if you wanna check it out. I'm pretty sure these letters are supposed to be used for highway signs, but they're pretty convenient for all custom lettering, honestly. Some of the last steps was adding in a few road markings, so the buses all know where to go. Some landscaping, which I did off camera, and some street signs, like these crossing signs, which are also from the Decals Discord server. Okay, so, time for the final tour. Here we have the finished build. Like I said, I did all of the landscaping off camera. You didn't miss anything though, it's all mostly basic. But yeah, anyway, so here we have the entrance to the terminal for the buses, and this right here is the entrance for all the passengers, completed with these bike racks of course. And then if we go over here, this is the terminal. So I'll focus on the buses first, before we take a look at the terminal. So these are the buses. I did work on them a little more off camera, so you know, I overhauled the windshield wipers, I added these mirrors, and I added all of these decals of course. Now I know it doesn't look perfect, you can see the box truck kind of sticking out in a few places, like here for example. These are the side reflectors, I believe. But yeah, that's just because I placed these buses kind of diagonally, which messes with all of that stuff for some reason. But honestly, like, I really like how this looks. The wheels look really good, obviously. Probably because that's the only part I didn't build myself. But honestly, the rest isn't too bad either. We have working lights, of course, in the rear as well. These lights on top work as well, of course. It does look pretty similar to the sketch I did, so that's a bonus point. But yeah, let's turn to the station itself now. I created this big shelter. I mean, it shelters you more from the sun than the rain really, because yeah, it has pretty it has pretty big holes in it. Of course, you can see I added the big station sign on top of here, as well as these advertisements. Both of these, by the way, I think I talked about it before, but both of these are from the Decals Discord server, which I've linked in the description, along with these signs, of course. You know, I've added in these trees off camera, which do add a lot. I really like how they looked. Then I've added in a second entrance right here, and well, yeah, this is this is the exit. That's pretty much the entire bus station. I do really like this. It's pretty modern and nice. Maybe not that functional, to be honest. That should have probably been the main priority. But yeah, that was that. You know, I'd love to see the devs adding something like this into the game. But you know, maybe there are things you would change on it. So you know, if you know what to improve and what you want to see me build otherwise in the future, comment it down below. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye!